Alright, today we're going to replace the brake pads on a 98 Toyota Tacoma. It's actually a super simple process. These are what the brake pads look like. I'm going to link these in the video description below so you have a quick and easy place to buy them from. Amazon has them for pretty cheap, so go ahead and check that out. And then what I've done up to this point is I've loosened up all of the lug nuts on the tire before I lifted it off the ground. Then I went ahead and put the jack on the knuckle underneath the tire, and that lifted the tire up enough off the ground, and then I put a secondary jack right there just in case, you know, anything happens when the tire is off the vehicle. That's just more of like a precautionary thing. Now that the tire is lifted up and I have the lug nuts loose, I'm going to go ahead and loosen up the rest of the lug nuts and then pop the tire off, and then I'll show you the caliper where the brake pads are located. This is called the caliper right here. This is what holds the brake pads. You can kind of see down inside of them right here how worn down they are. This guy's called the rotor, and with the rotor you can kind of see this is where the brake pads press against it to stop your car, and right now there's kind of a little lip up at the top, and that just kind of goes to show like what's being worn away when the brake pads clamp down on the rotor itself. So for me, it's about time to replace my rotors as well. On the caliper itself, if you look around on the back side, you're going to see two 17mm bolts. This one and then the one a little bit farther down, and those need to come out in order for the caliper to slide away from the vehicle. So I've pulled the caliper up and off the rotor itself, and I've also supported it with a little bungee cable so that it doesn't put any pressure on this brake line right here, because if those break, you're in it for a much more expensive repair. So here's how to release the brake pads. There's this little wire thing right here that you just press down and then pull out, and then you'll be able to pull the wire out of each of these little pins, and then these pins come out like this, and that releases the brake pads so they can slide out through the other side. Also, this little metal thing can just be pushed down and then lifted up and out. It also helps if you take like a nail or something or a screw and stick it through that little hole, and then you can hit the end of this and that'll also push the little pins out. I found that helped out a lot as well. Anyway, so now these two brake pads will fall through the other side. So one thing we have to do right now, as you can see with the old brake pads, they're a lot closer together because they've been worn down so much. And the new brake pads take up a lot more room. So what we have to do here on the caliper itself, we have to push back these pistons a little bit to make room for the extra thickness of the new brake pads so that it'll still fit over the rotor when we go to put it back on. So inside the engine bay, there's this brake fluid box right here, so I'm going to go ahead and unscrew the cap of this and pop it off so that brake fluid will be able to rise up as I compress that piston down. I'm just going to leave it on the top so no debris or dust falls inside of there. So since we don't need the old brake pads anyway, I went ahead and tossed one of the old ones back in there and then used a giant C-clamp to clamp down on the brake pad itself, which in turn is compressing these little pistons right here to make room. So with each turn of this, I compress that piston down just a little bit more. And then with the new brake pads, remember that the holes on the top go inside the caliper so that those little metal rods can slide through them again. Go ahead and clip that up. Lock it in place. Now everything's in place, the two pins, the metal plate, the little latch thing. I did have to rotate these just a little bit to get the holes to line up for this little bracket. Anyway, if you are going to replace your rotors, usually you replace your rotors, you know, if this ledge is too big or if it's kind of jerking when you're slowing down. If you press on the brakes and your car kind of chugs, good chances are that it's the front rotors are warped a little bit. All of these they're just loose, and you can just pop them off of the vehicle like that. And then that's your rotor itself, and then that's the part of your truck. So these are actually relatively inexpensive. I'm going to leave mine on for now. If you need to replace these, I will link them also in the video description below. I painted these calipers probably about 2 years ago, so if you want to see a video on how I did that, go ahead and click right here, and that'll give you a little walkthrough on the type of paint that I used and the whole process behind that. Anyway, all I'm going to do right now is just pop on the tire and cap the brake fluid again after I finish the other tire. When you replace one set of brake pads, you're going to want to do both the left and right side of the vehicle. If you have any questions, go ahead and link them in the comments below. Don't forget that I've linked the parts that you need in the video description below. And also, before you actually drive anywhere, you're going to want to make sure to pump the brake pedal a few times, and that'll make sure to clamp the brake pads closer to the rotor so that you won't have any delay when you're braking for the first time. So make sure that you press on the brake pedal enough times until it feels like normal again. It'll feel really loose for a little bit. It probably only took me about 20-25 minutes to do one side of the vehicle, so I would say, about an hour process to do both sides. If you have any questions, make sure to leave them in the comments below. Don't forget to like if this video helped you, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.